Welcome to Ibis Weather. This is Sarah, and thank you for tuning in for today's update. Today is September 2nd, 2025. This isn't the first update I've done in a while, since last week. You was wondering where I was actually on a trip to the beach, so that was lovely. So I hope everyone else had a good time last week, and of course over the holiday weekend, which was Labor Day weekend, and happy September 1st and happy first of the Burr months. If you're someone like me who has a deep love for fall and winter, this is the time of year you look forward to very much, even though it may not feel like um, technically we are at fall just yet, unfortunately. But we're getting there, which we'll touch on in just a moment as well. We're going to go ahead and kickstart things a little bit differently this time around. Highlighting this time a Pacific hurricane. We have Hurricane Kiko, who is currently over there in sort of kind of been from between the Eastern Pacific and then, of course, the Central Pacific. The reason we are covering Hurricane Kiko is one, I feel like a lot of times the Pacific does not get a lot of coverage, at least for the areas close to like Hawaii and, of course, the West Coast and Alaska and Mexico. And also because I think it's interesting just to track and see how these go a little bit differently than the Atlantic and kind of see the comparison between the two. So we do have Hurricane Kiko. She became a hurricane, I believe it was yesterday on September 1st. She is currently a Cat 2, and she could track close to Hawaii, which is one, like I said, one of the main reasons we're covering her. As you can see right now, she is moving slowly at west 6 miles per hour. Her current wind speed is sustained wind, so not gust. Gust will be higher, is 100 miles per hour. And as you can see, she'll continue to track west with a slow curve towards the northwest. It looks like she will become a major sometime tomorrow morning, between tonight and tomorrow morning, and will sustain that until at least Thursday morning. And by Thursday evening, go back to being just a hurricane, which, don't get me wrong, Cat 2 or 1 can be just as devastating. And typically with Pacific ones, we do see them being usually a wider, bigger storm as well. The reason why I do think she will be doing some weakening is she will be going to drier air and cooler water temperatures, which should kind of help lower her intensity down a little bit, but she probably will grow. She currently isn't the smallest, as you can see by the wind field they have over here. Where's my mouse? There we go. As you can see, the orange indicates where her tropical storm force winds come out from her eye, and then, of course, the red, which you can barely see because the X is covering it, is where her hurricane force winds expand out. You don't see Hawaii on the map right now, but they are thinking she could track close to it, which we'll go on to next as well. So if you are in Hawaii or any of the islands that might end up seeing her, it's not a bad idea to make sure you are following up and getting your kids her ready and prepared. Because even if she doesn't happen, we still have to go through rest. I believe for the Pacific, it ends actually, I think, at the end of next month in October. But you can't rule out everything all the time. And I mean, there could be something that might linger into November if something forms super late into the month of October. So we do want to make sure we cover that. So let's go ahead and look again. Just as a reminder, if your cone does not indicate just the impacts that we felt out, this is just showing where the center of the storm could go. And where you see kind of the black circles with the white initial, that's kind of where they're thinking I will track, most likely in the center of the cone, but that's not, again, counting other, impacts that could be felt from, wind, rain, rough surf, anything like that. So if you are out in the Pacific and you think, well, I'm not in the map right now, so I'm not going to worry about it, I do want to remind people that this cone is really not a good indication of where you may feel the impacts or not. It's just more or less tracking where the sensor could go. Let's go ahead and look at the satellite view for her. So you can see she is right over here. So she does look kind of small. And we can see the islands over here. The Hawaiian Islands. So she is a good bit distance away right now. Again, like you see how far she continues to track west before she makes that northwest move. It could be pretty close. She definitely has a good inflow and outflow, which is showing she is a healthy hurricane. You can sort of see the eye trying to clear out a little bit there in the middle. And she is, like I said, a healthy hurricane, perfect image of what a hurricane would looks like on satellite, and a reminder that, she probably will grow. You do see a lot of other clouds and areas of instability in the Pacific as well. Looks like something might be trying to form over here. And then, of course, there is a tropical storm right now over there by Baja, California, which this is over here. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens with that as well. But right now, she's just a tropical storm, I think. And we'll be making landfall pretty soon. So I'm not too worried about her. But we might touch on her a little bit tomorrow if we have time. Let's go ahead and look at, of course, the spaghetti models, which everybody loves to see. Yes, they do have them for your Pacific systems. So as you can see over here, this is the Euro and global models. So again, you start seeing it spread out towards the middle of the week. Some having her go more northwest earlier, others taking her further west. So there probably is a good indication that she might go a little bit more further west than north when she does start making that turn. Um, so again, like I said, in Hawaii, you should be keeping close eyes on this particular system because we just don't have a lot of confidence right now where she'll go. And let's go ahead and look at the GFS. So that's even a little bit worse, as you can see, a lot of the models. You do see some of them trying to make her turn a little bit more north. You can sort of see Hawaii over here. So you can start seeing some of the models showing the eye possibly going over. So again, the models, each line of the model is indicative of where they think the sensor will go. So again, not counting wind field, rain shield, rain bands, surf, anything like that. So this is something to continue to follow. The good news is between now and then, the track will change, the models will change. So it's better to be kind of thought early on that you might be in the track of a storm or a future path of the storm than later, closer to the time that the storm approaches you. So that's good news for Hawaii, but it's still worth noting and paying attention because you just don't want to be caught off guard since you don't get them too often there, which is a good thing. But when you do, they usually are particularly nasty storms. Okay, let's go ahead and switch to the topic of the Atlantic. So right now we do not have any official areas of, well, we have area of interest, but it's not an official investigation. So we do not have invest. I think it'll be 92 would be the next one that we'd have when they do. This system might end up becoming invest 92. We'll have to kind of wait and see. I know nothing else right now in the Atlantic for the season. Again, we are now in the peak of hurricane season, so I expect we'll probably start seeing an uptick in some of this. But over here, you can see they do have this tropical wave. Is considered over far eastern tropical Atlantic, southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. Conductive environment conditions can maintain and are still laying ahead of it. Tropical depression or tropical storm could form later this week into this upcoming weekend, and is expected to initially move slowly westward and then gradually accelerate westward to northwest at around 15 miles per hour into early next week. So for the next chance for becoming a tropical depression or a tropical storm, they have the chance of that to be 30% for 48 hours and then 70% for the next 7 days. I know there's been a lot of talk of people saying, well, this one is going to follow Hurricane Aaron, and Tropical Storm Fernan, uh, and be a quote unquote fish storm. Will it happen? It's possible. There's some things I kind of think we might be wanting to get a little bit more concerned about and a little bit more worried as we get a little bit closer into next week with this system heading possibly our way. We shouldn't get too confident or cocky just because that's kind of what the past two storms have been. I know a lot of people have been talking about, oh, well, in North America, we're getting an early fall and all these fronts. Well, we have had them, which we'll touch again toward a little bit closer towards the end of this video. There's some indication that, it might be a little bit different than what we're thinking, and we might start seeing a warm up, which means the fronts are not going to be there. And then, of course, it depends on how west the Bermuda High tracks will come closer to the East Coast or not. We just don't know. So don't get too confident and cocky in thinking that this storm will follow the trend of the past two. Each storm is individual and different. Each storm is a different setup. So this is something definitely worthwhile watching again. And like I say, whereas we're in the peak of hurricane season, we should want to continue to watch every single one of these storms and not just make assumptions out of everyone, because all it takes is one hurricane to hit where you are, and make it a bad season and a rememberable season. Um, and so we do want to make sure that we are respecting these storms and systems and watching them as they continue to go. So let's go ahead and see what satellite presentation. You will see a couple different areas of interest here. So we're talking about the wave that's kind of over here. There's another one about to come off out of the coast of Africa in the next day or two as well, which we'll track as that comes off. There's been some talk about, you can see a little bit of storms trying to fire up in convection over here closer to South America, which I guess is technically a tropical wave. It's kind of degenerated at this point. So we will continue to see where this goes if it tracks closer to warmer waters. Right now, it's kind of surrounded by dry air, so it's not allowing a lot of convection to build up. So right now, it looks like the Atlantic, over the close to Africa, and then on its way west to South America. It doesn't look like much. You'll probably wonder, okay, then, Sarah, what is going on over here by Florida, the Gulf, and the Carolinas and Georgia? Well, that's a good question. So right now, the National Hurricane Center, again, is not really shown any areas of interest with this. Go back over here. So you can see there's nothing over here. However, the satellite presentation is definitely showing a little bit different. So you do see some clouds and some things look like it's trying to start swirling and get a little bit of convection. Some models are kind of showing that we might get something trying to form off here. If you do look at uh, the wind map for this Atlantic area, you will see there is some definitely lower rotation on the lower levels. So this may end up continuing to firm up and form something. We may see something on the Gulf side. We may see something on the southeast coast. Some of the models again are hinting more at southeast than the Gulf at this moment. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. If you've been anywhere between the Carolinas and Florida over the weekend or even last week, you guys know that we did indeed have a cold front come through. It wasn't really cold though, just a little bit lower and cooler and drier than what it has been. It's probably really mostly just dry air versus anything else, and that has kind of sat off the coast and just kind of sitting there, and that is what's causing all your rough surf and rip currents. I know some beaches had to shut down over the weekend, the water from swimming because of the rip currents. When I was on the beach last week as well, in the middle of the week, we had rip current warnings. And rough surf as well. So it's definitely something that is currently being experienced, but that's because of the cold fronts. So we'll see if they actually do form into anything. But right now, it just looks like, something's trying. Will it happen? I don't know. Not sure why the National Hurricane Center is not showing it as much of anything. I guess maybe the conditions are just a little bit less favorable for it right now. Um, but it's definitely fun to watch and something to look out for as well. And you can even sort of see some of the lower level rotation starting over here. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, main area of interest right now is over here. Doesn't look like much on satellite. But the National Hurricane Center seems to think that this will be Tropical Storm Gabrielle. That is the next name on the list. And a lot of the models are hinting that she'll become a hurricane. So, it's peak season. We want to make sure that we stay prepared. Even though she's right now not a threat to any immediate landmass, which is a good thing, she's not even anything named, not even an invest at this point. It's not a bad idea to go ahead and start checking, your hurricane preps and know what plans you would have in case you do end up. Because even if she doesn't happen, we still have until the end of November to get through. And last season, we did see it being a backloaded season, so that might happen this year as well. So go ahead while you have the ability to get your supplies and time. Go ahead and make sure you have it all ready if you haven't already gotten that completed by June 1st. So at the end of May, when the Atlantic hurricane season starts. Okay, so let's go on to next. So again, kind of talking about some of the areas as I mentioned. So if you can see over here, you can see the probability of tropical cyclone genesis. So that would be anything from, again, tropical storm up into a hurricane. We definitely see the deeper oranges and reds So putting it kind of around 60-50%. And then you can see some of these are spaghetti models. Now, because this is not a fully formed tropical cyclone, it's not a hurricane, it's not even a depression, a lot of times spaghetti models are not going to be super great at guessing and predicting where a system will go. So that's definitely important to know and worth noting. So while a lot of people are saying, "Oh, you'll see it's having what will be Gabrielle," so, turning to the open seas of the Atlantic, that could be a case. It could be a possibility. It really kind of depends on where she forms, and if she forms earlier, she is more likely to turn north earlier. If she forms later, further as she travels west, then that does seem a little bit less likely of a chance of that turn early on. And there's another factor which we'll touch on as well on why I'm saying that, people shouldn't get too cocky right now with where they're thinking she'll go. But she definitely looks like the models are agreeing that she'll become something. Again, not good consensus across the board of where she'll track either. Again, like I said, it's not surprising. She hasn't formed into, a true tropical cyclone, so the models are just not going to be that great. And of course, nobody is flying into her. She's too far out in the open Atlantic at the moment. And again, nothing has formed, so there's really nothing to investigate right now. So just kind of continue to monitor. She'll probably, towards the middle of next week is if she tracks that far west and north. We'll probably be talking about something different, but right now it's just kind of continue to monitor. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you did see that blob over there off Florida. So as you can see, they are kind of hinting to models that something might try to form. Not super great odds right now. Really, you kind of see it being maybe a very small 30 to 20%, and then 10 to almost 0% now. Um, Between 10 and 0, you can see they have some of the models do show. It looks like South Carolina being possibly an area, Florida, and then, of course, Bermuda and into the open seas. Again, nothing officially has formed, not even an invest, not a depression. So again, these models aren't going to be great at figuring out, how strong it is, where it would go. But it is interesting to see them listing this here as a possibility of something trying to form versus what the National Hurricane Center is showing right now. So we'll have to see. And then, of course, I mentioned the other wave that's closer to South America. So it does look like they think that something might form um, closer over here. So you can see they definitely have a higher percentage between like 100 to 90 to 80. So we'll have to wait and see. Again, nothing is down there. Nothing has formed. So again, just kind of wait and see. But it's just interesting to see the odds. There's two other little areas that have small um, possibilities that they're thinking it might try to form something that's between what will be Gabrielle and then let's just call it the blob off the Carolinas and Florida. And then over there by the Yucatan is also two small areas that have some odds that have been given as well. So again, nothing's set in stone. We don't have anything official out in the Atlantic right now. No even official invests. These are just areas of interest to watch and to continue to monitor, especially the one over here by the southwest of Cabo Verde Islands, as this will likely be our next tropical system officially. And we'll wait and see what she brings. So just, make sure you follow somebody you trust, to get your updates and just pay attention and monitor. And like I said, it's not a bad idea to make sure that you are getting ready, irregardless, because if she doesn't even come near you, we're still in the middle of the season and we're in the peak of the season. So it's not a bad idea to just make sure you have all your ducks lined in a row ahead of any possible threat that may come your way during the remainder of the season. Which, speaking of the remainder of the hurricane season, the National Hurricane Center has released their global tropics hazard outlook again. So for week 2, so that's starting from September 10th through the 16th, you'll definitely see they do have a hatched area, so 20% or less odds between the Gulf and across the Caribbean, over there by the Bahamas and Hispaniola. So not the greatest odds right now, but they definitely think something might try to form. And then again over there by Cabo Verde Islands. And if we look at September 17th through the 23rd, again, the area over there by the Caribbean has shrunk down a little bit and gone a little bit further south. And then we'll see for the open Atlantic. They definitely got a bigger area now, and then of course a more solid 40% chance of something trying to form over there between the Leeward and the Cabo Verde Islands. So something we'll have to continue to monitor as we work our way through the month of September. Let's talk about some of the talk that people again made a big deal about Hurricane Erin when she passed, and then of course a little bit when Fernan, who never got to be as strong and powerful as Erin, but still nonetheless a tropical system that does do some maybe minor upwelling and definitely still using up those warm sea surface temperatures. If you remember, right after Erin, we did see more blue over here. If you see over here between South Carolina down by Florida, that would be the Gulf Stream. And then, of course, out east of that is some of the areas we saw Erin and Fernan go and hang out. So you can definitely see the water has started warming back up in the 7-day anomaly. So that is definitely important. You see a lot of warmth still over here, kind of in the main development region of the hurricane path, if you will. So from the leeward all the way out to Africa, definitely warming off even more off the coast of Africa, which again, with some of those waves looking like they're going to be coming off the coast, that is definitely worth noting to see what happens with that as we continue to check further. And then we do see a little bit of cooling to happen in the Gulf with little pockets of some warming, but most of it being consistent with the season across the board. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the dry air. So again, some people kind of saying, well, what will be tropical storm or Hurricane Gabrielle that, well, she'll be surrounded by dry air, so it won't be super great. So this is kind of where you see the dry air. Dry air is anything yellow and orange, anything that is blue, white, or green is moisture. So to kind of orientate you guys a little bit. So this is Gulf. So you have Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and then Georgia, Cuba, and islands. And then of course this is South America, and then Central America with Mexico. Africa is all the way over here. So you can see a lot of moisture. It's the monsoon time of the year for them right now, which is always helps create the Cabo Verde style hurricanes that form off over there. So not really surprising to see a lot of juice coming off of the coast of Africa. We do see a lot more dry air over here, kind of northeast of the Leeward Islands. Like I said, we do have this area of to watch. There's a lot of moisture over there, it seems like, and not a whole lot of solid yellow or orange around it. So that is probably why the National Hurricane Center is saying it's got good odds. The system over there right now, closer to South America, definitely a wave is definitely more or less surrounded by dry air, so that one will probably continue to struggle. And then, of course, the one off the U.S. coast right now has a lot of moisture still and pooling moisture from the Gulf as well. Not a whole lot of dry air around it. So, again, people saying that what will be Gabrielle will have a long struggle. Right now, the map for dry air versus moisture is not really, showing what people are hoping to see. Could it change between now and tomorrow or the next day? Absolutely. But if anything, it'll probably get more juiced up the atmosphere as we have these monsoons coming off the coast of Africa, pushing themselves further west. Technically, the Saharan dry desert air plumes probably become less and less likely as we continue to work our way through the rest of September into the middle of October. And then let's go ahead and touch a little bit about some fall things. So as mentioned earlier, a lot of people talking about fall and these fronts, which will help block the U.S. from getting anything. If you've seen some of the other ones, a lot of people, and even I have shared some of these maps from the National Hurricane NOAA, and National Weather Center, or Service, I should say, having maps that are a lot of blue. So as you can see, kind of over here, up in the Mid-Atlantic and New England is more blue. You can see kind of the colors that they have over here on the lower right-hand corner of the image. But for the days from September 9th through the 15th, we will see a warming trend return. So anything that is gray would be near normal. So anything in the different shades of blue, the lighter blue means closer to normal. And the darker blue means likely below normal. Same goes for the oranges and reds. So as you can see, we are going to be warming back up. Majority of the country from the central down to the south. Florida, of course, you haven't really had a chance to taste the false fall, as they like to call it, yet. We'll see how long it continues to last for you guys. I know the Carolinas and Georgia and Tennessee have definitely felt false fall a little bit. And then you can see, looks like California is going to get a little bit of a needed break over there in their desert where they have fire risk. So that's good news for them. Above normal, even all the way up there in the Dakotas. Um, and then, of course, like I said, majority of the country, including Alaska and Hawaii, being above normal. So false fall indeed is what we are experiencing. And as I was mentioning about people talking about the fronts, so if this outlook holds true and we do see fronts and they are basically staying north of Georgia and most South Carolina, and of course Northeast Tennessee and the Ohio Valley, and stay over here closer to Mid Atlantic and New England. That means that they will come off over here instead of dipping farther down and coming off, which could help block an escape hatch for any hurricane. So if Gabrielle takes her time and tracks and gets a little bit more organized closer to September 9th, that week of, there is a chance that she'll track more west, especially if we see the Bermuda High move more west as well. It has been currently sitting pretty far east in the open Atlantic. Will that change? We'll have to wait and see. Again, we are kind of in the time of year where you do see, you know, the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida having a higher risk of being hit. And of course, you can't rule out the Gulf either. So, if we do get any cold fronts to come through and they stay more north and they stay away from any of the usual hurricane routes that they take, again, the reason why we should be watching this and not just blindly following what other people might be saying about it's going to be a open sea storm, a fish storm. We can't guarantee that. And to also know, we are still very much in summer temperatures for most of the country. Speaking of the fall, actually, we go here before we go there. Um, some people have been confused a little bit, as I'm sure a lot of your weather channels and other weather personalities on the internet have been posting about. Yesterday being the start of what they call meteorological fall. And you might be wondering, gee, what is that? How is that different? I thought fall started around anywhere from the 20th to the 22nd at the equinox. Technically, you're right on that, but also they are right. Meteorological fall is what they start at the start of the season. So, for instance, fall starts September 1st, winter will start December 1st, spring March 1st, and summer happens in June 1st, is when those technically start, or maybe even May 1st. I have to look into that and find official dates on that. But basically, that means that is where you have a sharp cutoff date of when the daily averages start to change. So in this case, we'll start seeing, particularly for the more northern portions of the country, to start seeing, cooler temperatures and averages. Instead of warming back up, we're going to start seeing it cool down, and slowly that will trickle down to the rest of the U.S. as well. So we are technically at the start of meteorological fall, which brings me to my next point, which is how much daylight are we going to be losing? So this is a map for the lower 48. I need to try find one like this for obviously Alaska, which will be losing dramatically as they approach their winter season. As you know, there are parts of very North Alaska, including Barrow, where they actually have days where they don't have sunrise at all. So during summer, they get what they call the midnight sun, which means the sun never sets and it's sunny 24/7 for them. And then during winter, they have it where it's just continuous darkness. And I believe that technically starts in October until like March or April. I'll have to again look at the dates as we get closer to that, since I think it is interesting. But for the lower 48, we do start seeing our sun setting earlier. So over there, in the very northern portions of the lower 48, you guys will be losing around 90 minutes. Anything above you guys will be 100, 80 minutes for anything, from Oh, yes, this map does have some of the names messed up. For sure. It mentioned Reno twice, which is interesting. That's what I get for using AI to generate. But anyway, so like Idaho, southern Idaho, Wyoming, a majority of Wyoming, northern portion of Colorado, and just across into like New York. You'll lose 80 minutes, 70 minutes for everywhere from like San Francisco, to Reno, to Denver, to St. Louis, to Washington. 60 minutes, so you lose an hour from Vegas across to Raleigh. A little less than an hour from San Diego to like Charleston, and then anything below that you'll have lose 40 minutes. So yeah, it's always something fun to see and interesting. Um, so I thought I wanted to share it with you guys. So again, important points. We do have Hurricane Kiko over there in the Pacific. Hawaii, if you are located in Hawaii, you might want to go ahead and take note and watch this closely. Some models are suggesting at this moment that she could get close to you guys. We just don't know when or where yet. It's kind of far out. The cone doesn't go that far out, so we just can go off of what the National Hurricane Center advises on that. So if you are in Hawaii, take heed, pay attention, follow. Um, Someone that you trust, a website, a personality, a meteorologist, whatsoever you want to follow for the latest updates. Start going over your plans, making sure your kit is, ready and available in case you do end up running yourself into crosshairs of Kiko. Um, and we'll continue to monitor it here, and you can continue to follow for updates on Kiko over here, Ibis Weather, whether that's here on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. And then, of course, for the Atlantic, again, nothing, no official, invest areas, no tropical depressions, no named storms. We do have a wave coming off southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands that will probably become Tropical Storm Gabrielle or even Hurricane Gabrielle, as a lot of the models are hinting at. Where she'll go, it's just too early to tell. I mean, it won't be until next week she'll be closer to any landform mass to know where she'll go. Again, a lot of people are saying, well, if she does get closer, she'll be a fish storm. I would say continue to monitor, follow somebody you trust for updates to find out what's going on. I am here to help give you guys that information. As you saw, what we did for Erin, we did share information about evacuations and shelters along the line. That is my goal to continue to do, as I think that is an area that is severely underserved by a lot of weather enthusiasts and meteorologists and services like that. So that's a place I do want to fill in for you guys. So again, nothing official, nothing to clutch your pearls and freak out over. Just something to continue to watch. We do have two other areas of possible interest that's not shown on this map, as I mentioned. Um, so over here and then over here. National Hurricane Center doesn't seem to be, hinting at anything. We'll wait and see what happens with those as well. So again, we're at the peak of the season, so just, continue to follow a trusted source and monitor and make sure you also have your kit ready. And I will post another update tomorrow, and we'll continue to track Kiko and future Gabrielle together, and we will count down the days until hurricane season is officially over. Again, feel free to follow me here on YouTube, on Facebook, or Instagram. I am more active on Facebook and YouTube than Instagram, so that's where I post most of my updates. So be sure to like and follow, subscribe, share, and if you have any comments or feedback, please feel free to leave a comment below. I always love to hear from my viewers. And know what's on you guys' mind and where you guys are thinking is going to go with these storms and weather. So until then, I will talk to you next time.